Real quick, just a reminder to check out my movie channel. The link is in the description. I have videos on there about the new Alex Garland movie, Civil War. I have a Dune 2 review. I have, some tier list of guys like Christopher Nolan and David Fincher, and Alex Garland tier list is coming up. So be on the lookout for all that. Again, link is in the description, but back to your regularly scheduled video. All right, let's talk about Derek Carr, everyone's favorite quarterback to talk about. Okay, that's not true, but an interesting quarterback, my favorite quarterback to talk about, at least sometimes. Derek Carr, who I think is in a really interesting spot in New Orleans, where, the Saints had that kind of really rough start to the first 2/3 of the season, and everyone kind of stopped paying attention to them. But, I watch every game because it's my job too, and I was kind of watching these games like, wait, Derek Carr's kind of playing a little better here. Derek Carr's kind of picking it up, and I'm kind of wondering if maybe he's actually better than we realize. Somebody like this play, for example, it's going to be a zone coverage play, and this is exactly what we used to see from Derek Carr all the time, where watch how this play is going to work. Carr takes a snap, and it essentially turns into a pure one-on-one matchup. And Carr, throughout his career in Las Vegas or back to Oakland, was so great, so consistently at getting chemistry with his receivers. That was one of the real positives of his game. It's kind of that intangible quality of having the chemistry of his receivers, which in hindsight kind of makes you think a little bit, well, yeah, of course he would then struggle on a new team, right? That was such a big strength of his, game, that kind of working with all new receivers, that's going to be a little bit tricky. But here you see him really put a ball in a spot where his receiver can make the grab. He gives his receivers chances. That's what he's kind of always been known for in in Las Vegas. And now he's becoming known for it a bit in New Orleans, as he was able to kind of towards the end of the year get a lot better at knowing exactly where to put the ball for his receivers to make plays and which receivers to throw to in which situations. The Saints were also doing stuff like this. I thought the whole unit was working better. This game, for example, we can say, Atlanta, they're not that good. Well, their defense, they were all right last year, and their defense was pretty good. And this was a meaningful game. They had a chance to make the playoffs had Atlanta won and Tampa Bay lost in this game. But, you see this concept could get into a gap in coverage. When Carr takes the snap, he's going to, it looked like kind of a half-hearted play action there. Eventually throws it down the field, though, and they're able to scheme up a guy to get open. This is something that wasn't really happening early on and maybe was forcing Carr in more tough situations. But as the season progressed, they were getting more of these, as you see, thrown and timed ball by Carr, a big hit, but receiver able to hold on, so give him credit. Just a, good, well-ran play in general, and to me, that's kind of what we saw from Carr in these last handful of games, with just doing a good job of consistently running the offense. Something like this was another one where what's going to happen on this play is, so it's a, a 2nd out of 9 situation, it's zone coverage, and you see the concept on the screen. It's that slant route that Carr is going to want to throw to here. Well, when it begins, Carr takes the snap. He is going to, look in that direction. It's actually Taysom Hill who's open on this play for sure. But again, sometimes these plays are less about getting the completion and more about where do you get the completion and how do you get the completion. Watch really kind of pinpoint accurate throw by Carr to allow Hill to make the grab and then fall forward. Really good job by him. And that's just what Carr can bring to the table. That's one of the benefits that he has for a team, is that he can, do the little things, kind of the things that go unnoticed a lot of times. And we weren't seeing that so much early on in the year. And again, part of me does wonder how much of that is chemistry, how much of that is just not exactly knowing how fast your receivers are, not exactly knowing, where you should put it and where they like to have it and that kind of thing. So that's part of what I think. Again, to anyone who says that they think Derek Carr is washed up, well, we can talk about that. How about this play, which is going to be, there's the deep route over the middle. I wasn't exactly sure. Sometimes on the broadcast, it's hard to see exactly what coverage this is. I put cover 2 man on the screen. I could be wrong about that, but, that's less important. Watch what happens. Carr is going to take the snap. He runs, not a half-hearted play action, a full play action, firing down the field. There is a window. Carr at his best in Oakland or Las Vegas. I gotta just start saying the Raiders. Carr at his best with the Raiders was very good at the deep ball. That deep ball was kind of his calling card in a lot of ways. This one is just a thing of beauty. Gets the touchdown on that one. That's definitely what Carr is capable of. And we weren't really seeing it early on. So I do think that if you're looking at Carr's whole body of work last season, there definitely are some blemishes, and it's definitely fair to say, like, yeah, some of this wasn't exactly ideal. I think you'd be doing yourself a mistake, though, if you looked at them all and weighted all the games equally, because I do think that we saw Carr look a lot better as the season progressed. And again, some people are going to say, yeah, whatever, because they already made their minds up about it before this situation happened, but you can't do that. You have to make your mind up after you see all the evidence. And to me, well, as a Tampa Bay fan, I would love it if Carr sucked now and the Saints were with a bad contract. I don't know if that's the case. Granted, going over here, I feel Carr's doing this more, which is weird, where this is going to be, and this was later on in the season, this, against the Rams. This was a tough loss that the Saints took here, as they, if they won it, they would have been a playoff team. But like this play, it feels like Carr has, he's always kind of been good for one or two, like what are you doing plays a season, but it feels like it's gone up in the past couple of years, and even going back to his last year in Las Vegas. There I can say Las Vegas, that works. What's going to happen on this one is it's zone coverage. You see how the route could work, but when Carr takes the snap, I don't know if he just misread this coverage or what, but like, honestly, this is a terrible throw. I mean, even if you got rid of, the guy who I've circled in black, even if he wasn't like there, this is still not a good throw to make. It's an awful throw to make with that guy there. I don't really, and Carr seems to be doing these a couple of times a game. Maybe he's just trying to take a chance, but you're only down 13 with 8 minutes left. Like that's not the chance to take. And I said 8 minutes left. I meant to say 8 minutes left in the third quarter, so 23 minutes left total. Definitely not a smart play here. This one, of course, does get intercepted. Again, you'll kind of live with a couple of these here, right? Like, you don't want too many of those, and those are still the thing that he does have to cut down. But, like, for the most part, I think the tape was, again, if you look at kind of the end of the season tape was actually really good. So what do we do with Carr here at this point? I mean, again, you could counter everything I'm saying and say, like, hey, week 4 still matters. Like, all that stuff still matters. You could say he's dealing with an injury, dealing with a new team, all of that. But, like, it still is, important aspects of football. Like, that stuff still matters. Okay, fair. That's true. But at the same time, I don't know. I just feel like to me, like, you could say there are excuses if you want to. The excuses make sense to me. Like, again, look at Tom Brady with the Buccaneers and how long it took him to actually get it going. It took him to I would say longer than it took Carr to start get going. Not to say that, again, Brady had some big moments early on, just as Carr had some big moments early on. It takes some time when you're dealing with a new team. It just does. So I think I'm willing to give more excuses, and I think I'm not as low on Carr as other people are. Now, if you do this again next year, I don't care what the excuses are, now you have an issue, right? Like, if you have the mistakes and have the slow start, then it's just an issue. But I don't know. I feel like Carr could be better this upcoming season. And, all of a sudden, with the quarterback play, it's interesting because it was so good for so long. It was always, in the division, it was always Breeze, Matt Ryan, Cam Newton, and then, Mike Glennon or whoever the hell the Buccaneers were trying to make work over there. That was usually how the quarterback play worked. And then, obviously, last year, it wasn't great with Carr being banged up. Kind of, Mayfield was good, but then, Atlanta and Carolina had issues. Well, now, again, who knows if Bryce Young, but it's looking better. Like, again, what are we going to get out of Kirk Cousins coming off an Achilles? I don't know, but could be good. Carr could be good. Like, Mayfield's good. It's maybe not the, Breeze, Matt Ryan, Cam Newton, but you got some better quarterback play. I do expect Carr to be better. I do. I think Carr is going to be kind of back to what Derek Carr... I think he's going to be back to what Derek Carr was. I think it's one of those things where when you have 2 disappointing years in a row, and like he wasn't as good with the Raiders. He just wasn't. Like that's fair to say in his last year. So maybe there is that concern of like, well, we've seen it, But I don't know. I feel like he was good enough towards the end of last season that I'm willing to go into the season expecting him to be... Maybe he won't be fully Derek Carr, but expecting him to be a good quarterback for the New Orleans Saints, which, again, in the NFC South, might be all they need to make the playoffs. It was damn near all they needed last year to make the playoffs, and they nearly were a wild card team as well. It wasn't just the division. So, I don't know. It's an interesting situation. But, yeah, that's what I think about the Saints and Derek Carr. What do you think? Let me know in the comments below. Always love hearing from you. And, of course, as always, thanks for watching.